Continue with more examples on solving equations. We have this equation 8 times some quantity x plus 3, and this has to give me negative 16. So this one is a little bit more complicated because now we're dealing with positive and negative numbers. So this is where strategies come into play. Just remember the distributive property means this. If I have like 2 times 4 plus 5, the order of our operations says I can add the 4 plus the 5 and get 2 times 9, and 2 times 9 is 18. That's not the distributive property. That's the order of operations. The distributive property is if I have 2 times 4 plus 5. Another way to do this problem is you are allowed to multiply the number outside the parentheses through the parentheses. So I can write this as 2 times 4 plus 2 times 5. Notice how I can distribute the 2 through the parentheses. And then I would have 8 plus 10, which would still give me 18. So there's 2 ways to do this problem. You can do what's inside the parentheses and then multiply, or you can multiply through the parentheses and then simplify from there. Unfortunately, if you look at our example, x plus 3 are not like terms, so you cannot put those together. So what we're stuck with is this strategy, is we want to use what's called the distributive property. So when I have this problem, 8 times the quantity x plus 3 equals negative 16, notice I want to simplify each side of the equation. And since the left side has parentheses, I want to remove those parentheses. And to remove those parentheses, this is where the distributive property comes into play. You want to multiply each term by that 8. So if I do the math, 8 times x becomes just 8x. And then 8 times 3, so this is going to be plus then. 8 times 3 is 24. So it turns into these 2 terms here, but notice how these 2 terms cannot be added together. Equals negative 16. So this is now simplified. Notice that the variable is not on both sides. It's just here by itself. So what I can do is, I could just go backwards and start solving the problem. Or again, I can just use the property of equality. I'm more used to using the property of equality. So I'm going to get rid of this constant of 24 by using its opposite. So I'm going to add a negative 24 to both sides of the equation. And that's going to give me then this 8x is left over here. And then I have negative 16 plus a negative 24, or negative 16 minus 24. Since those are like signs, really what that is just 24 plus 16. Because that's a loss and a loss. So if you add the 2 losses together, that's going to be a 40. But since it's going to remain a loss, this is going to be a negative 40. So remember, if the signs are the same, you add them together and you just keep the sign, because a loss and a loss is still a loss. Now, if I was going to use the calculator on this problem, you can type this in as negative 16 minus 24. That's like gives you negative 40. You can also write this as negative 16 plus a negative 24. So either way would be correct. So you've lost 16, and then you're going to take away another 24. So that means you've lost 40 altogether. Sometimes it's easier for me to see it as, if I'm trying to do it mentally, I see it better as an addition statement. And it does give me a negative 40 as well. Okay. So you can use technology, or again, you can just use your own reasoning skills that you've learned. So 8 times what gives me negative 40? Well, I know 8 times 5 is 40, so it must be a negative 5. But again, if I want to use this strategy, my goal is to make the coefficient a 1. So I need to make that 8 turn into a 1. So to make an 8 turn into a 1, you have to divide by the coefficient itself, which is the 8. So if you divide both sides by an 8, that will get the variable by itself. That'll get the x by itself, since the 8s are going to divide out. And negative 40 divided by 8 would be a negative 5. So that would be that. And again, you can use your calculator if you needed to for that.